Welcome to Leadership Speak, an advanced Toastmasters club for leadership development. We are one of the top 6 clubs globally. Myself, Shabnam Sayyed, your Sergeant at Arms of the meeting. Our club mission is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Our leadership statement or leadership speak is the premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. We are an advanced club focused primarily on leadership development in everything we do. Our timer, Toastmaster Christine, has a virtual hand raised so we all can immediately see who is keeping the time. Our TMOD, who will lead our meeting, is Toastmaster or DTM Brahm Memone. Brahm Memone, a certified NLP master coach since 1993, stands out in leadership development with his relentless passion for personal mastery and emotional connection. In 2020, he earned the title of Coach of the Year from District 86 Toastmasters, showcasing his exceptional coaching abilities and ability to connect with people during difficult times. As the visionary founder of the Global Leadership Impact Summit, he brings together leaders committed to positive change worldwide, reflecting his genuine concern for making a difference in people's lives. With creative thinking and a pioneering spirit, Brahm sets high benchmarks that inspires growth beyond limitations. His story emphasizes the power of empathy, compassion, and authentic human connections in a world that craves understanding and collaboration. Please help me to welcome none other than our TMOD of the day, Toastmaster DTM Brahm Memone. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. This is Brahm from Canada, so it's morning over here. I'm sure it's all sorts of different times where you are. Leaders adapt. That is the theme of this meeting today, and we will hear a lot about leaders adapt from our education keynote speaker, Baron Ochola. This is what I have to say, though, with regards to the theme. Great leaders are not born. They are forged through constant evolution and self-awareness, which means they keep on expanding their limitations. We all have our limitations, our narrow perceptions, or the comfort zone, call it what you may. But we are not here to live in our within our limitations or our narrow perceptions or in our comfort zones. Why are we here? Well, the more we learn about the world and the more worldly we become, the more we are, and the more we are engaged, the more we need to understand that we need to expand our limitations and take in things that are outside of our comfort zone. Leaders adapt. That is right. Of course, leaders do adapt. They have to for their greatness. They become legendary when they adapt and they go with what's really going on out in the world and adapt to what's going on in the circumstances. For those who know the pandemic, you haven't forgotten, right? Every one of us went through the pandemic very recently. Some of us are still going through it. And there was a lockdown. And what happened is a lot of people got very uncomfortable. They got depressed, and they had a lot of conflict going on in their workplaces and in their homes because they were close together to people. They were confined in certain places, and there was no movement. And a lot of conflict happened within their lives. They were extremely uncomfortable in what was happening. The only thing to do then was to adapt, to increase the limitations, to sort of widen the narrow perceptions. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, let's challenge our limitations. When we bring our limitations to the table and we see something else, we need to hear and listen and be able to sort of even debate to see if we can get the other person's point of view, and then expand our own perceptions and our comfort zone. So let's challenge our limitations, learn from failures and setbacks. Let us today expand our limitations. Let us become adaptable. Let us adapt, and Baron Ochola will tell us why we need to adapt. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will now call on my functionary team to introduce their roles. And we will begin with Lokesh Verma, who is our person that will raise the toast. Lokesh, please, if you can help us raise the toast. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, DTM Brahm. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and fellow leaders, today we gather to raise our glass in honor of a special breed of individuals, leaders who adopt. In every walk of life, we encounter leaders who inspire us with their unwavering determination and ability to navigate through challenges. But what truly sets exceptional leaders apart in their capacity to adopt and evolve in the face of change? As we toast to leaders who adopt, let us recognize the significance of change in our lives and how remarkable leaders embrace it. Change, as we know, is inevitable. It knocks on our door unannounced, demanding us to respond and adjust our course. Leaders who adopt recognize that adaptation is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a display of strength and resilience. Adapting to new circumstances, whether in business, politics, or personal life, is what propels us forward and paves the way for progress and success. Today, we celebrate the leaders of Leadership Speak who have demonstrated their ability to innovate and embrace change fearlessly. It taught us that true leadership lies not only in setting a course, but also in navigating the turbulent seas and staying afloat amidst the storms. Let us take a moment to extend our gratitude to each one of us, to all the leaders of Leadership Speak present here, who have shown unwavering adaptability in spite of coming from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds. Your tenacity, flexibility, and willingness to learn have touched the lives of many, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see. So let us raise our glass to the leaders who adopt. Toast to the leaders who adopt.
Leaders who adopt. Cheers.
Leaders who adopt.
Thank you. Back to you, DTM.
Thank you very much. Now, on this side of me, on you see a slide. I was looking at Facebook this morning, and this thing popped up that I keep posting once a year, and I've been posting this for many, many years. And this thing popped up on Facebook as a reminder that I post every year at this time of the year. And it says, you may be safe in your comfort zone, but that's not what you are here for. The world needs you to rise up to your potential. And you can only do that when you adapt to circumstances and how you're going to steer the waters. So set your sails straight and let's keep chugging along, because change can be intimidating and it's natural to cling to the familiar, right? But that's not what you're here for. Our timer is Karine Baptiste. Karine, please let us know what you'll be doing today.
Thank you, Brahm. I'm Karine. I will be your timer during this evening. I will timing all speakers and evaluators. According to this agenda, I will display different signals, green, yellow, and red. And between each part, I will give you my report. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Karine. Every Toastmasters meeting has a grammarian, or at least in Leadership Speak, we have a grammarian to check our language and report on our language. And our grammarian today, and is a very innovative grammarian, you'll find out, is Clemens Cambevo. Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening, guests. My name is Clemens Cambevo. I am your grammarian in this meeting today. As the grammarian, it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all the speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I also take note of any improper language as well as any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. As the grammarian, it is also my duty to introduce the word of the day. The word of the day for today's meeting is innovate, meaning to make changes, do something in a new way. An example sentence is their ability to innovate has allowed them to compete in world markets. I would like to encourage all speakers to innovate today and use the word of the day. I'll give the grammarian report when called upon to do so by the Toastmaster of the day. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Clemens. The general evaluator will call on you to do your report at the end. Thank you. Innovate. To adapt, you need to innovate. To get out of that comfort zone, to set yourself free of your limitations and go beyond, to set the sails to plow the waters through and sail the waters, you need to innovate. Innovation is a great word. Please use it as often as you can when you are speaking. Now we come to, of course, why we are here. The education keynote speaker is Baron Ochola, who is all the way from Uganda. And before we go on, we have an evaluator as well for Baron. Now, please do note timer, Zoom master, and evaluator. Baron will speak for 20 minutes, and then there'll be a 10 minute of question and answers after the 20-minute speech. So there's two timings, Madam Timer, and it's all on the agenda. And his evaluator today is, if I can get this right, Mariana Burka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brahm. And
just before you go on, Mr. Zoom Master, if you can get Mariana Burka correctly on the screen. Zoom Master. Thank you. If you read the agenda well, it's there actually clearly on the agenda. Go ahead, Mariana.
Thank you very much, Brahm. So Baron will present today from Innovative Planning Level 5, Prepare to Speak Professionally. So it is a keynote speech, which he will learn to present a speech exemplifying the professional level speaking, which should be in style and support the speech objective or content. So good luck to you, Baron.
Thank you.
You.
So before you begin, let me introduce you. So Zoom Master and Paramjit, if you can help the Zoom Master, because Zoom Master is not familiar with what to do. If you can help the Zoom Master, thank you. So here's the introduction for Baron, and I will quote This is what he said for his introduction. So I'll read it exactly as it said in his introduction. He says, I like to think of myself as a forward thinker, which I became because I was exhausted of keeping up with change. It was time to be ahead of the curve. Adapting is a topic I'm implored by. My speech is a call to action for members to realize they have to be in perpetual adaptation to survive and thrive. Change is only constant. Baron Ochola, all the way from Uganda, adapt or cease to exist. Adapt or cease to exist, Baron Ochola.
What a wonderful day it is, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster of the evening. How is everybody doing? Or it is morning in Canada. How is everybody doing? See, today's meeting is incredible because of the vast diversity that we experience with people coming in from all around the world. And when I see on my screen, that is a standout for me, especially with all of us being leaders and being here to discuss leaders adapting. That is a standout for me, Toastmasters and guests. Thank you so much for joining in. Adapting as leaders is a conversation that we need to have more often. Now, this is what it is about. Adapting means to modify, to move with the times, to restructure yourself, to adjust according to the circumstances. And in different contexts, it means just about the same thing. In the context of nature, we shall go to evolution. When a species does not adjust to the circumstances, for example, let's talk about dinosaurs. We see what happens, they no longer exist. So ideally, they had to have adjusted. If we speak about an organizational context, what happens is a business has to understand what the market looks like, has to understand what employees would like to happen in the organization, has to understand the entire industry. And with that, they should be able to make decisions that decide which direction they should go and how they will continue to exist. On an individual basis, which is one of the most important contexts for all of us. Are you learning new skills? Are you putting yourself in the spaces you need to put yourself in? Are you facing your fears? Are you doing all you can to adapt? This is all what adaptability is about. Changing your behaviors to fit the conditions that you are in. This is all adaptability. Examples of adaptability in leadership. We can look at Margaret Thatcher, who was a German chancellor, and she executed adaptability in political leadership, showing that she can become a strong leader by being transparent with the people, by being accountable to the people, but as well putting leadership to the forefront. Look at Elon Musk, very prime example that we have right now. 20 years ago, when you spoke of electric cars, the first thing you would say is, no, there's no way that can happen. If not, that is far-fetched. Imagine a world where most of us are driving electric cars. But here comes Elon Musk, thinking and saying, this can happen, whether anybody says it or not, and he adapted how we make vehicles, how we manufacture them. Look at Jeff Bezos. Look at Jeff Bezos, right? Look at Jeff Bezos. When you look at how Amazon started from a book seller company to the giant e-commerce organization it is now, this helps you understand why they are at the top of their game, why they are surviving, why they are thriving, and why they are taking on the world. What does the failure to adapt look like? Toastmasters and guests, who remembers the company known as Kodak? You can put your hands up. You can, I see a couple of hands, virtual hands as well. Right now, what can you say about the existence of Kodak? If anybody can unmute, I see our timer. Oh, I see this, all right. It is not thriving. And why is that? Because they did not keep up with the times. When photography was going digital, they did not keep up. The second example, the story of Nokia, a prime example. And this, while it is a side story, is a good one to share. If I ask right now in this Zoom call, how many people have Nokia phones? We'll get quite a few. In fact, except for the timer's hand, I don't see any other. How many people have Nokia phones? And the reason is this. The world moved to smartphones and Nokia did not adapt. Everything was changing and they did not adapt. In 2007, when Apple came into the picture, Nokia had the junk share of the phone market. And Apple was still a young budding company, learning the business. Fast forward to 2011, when Apple was taking over and the market share of Nokia was plunging. Here is what the CEO then, Stephen Elop, said in a memo. In this memo, he was sharing to the company employees to tell them, hey, this is why our market share is going down. The big problem that we have is that we did not adapt to the times. Everybody was going digital and we were still stuck on pressing buttons. At the end of the memo, his statement was, we did not do anything wrong. Somehow, we still lost. We did not do anything wrong. Somehow, we still lost. And that is what it comes down to. Toastmasters and guests, I could share 1,000 stories of leaders failing to adapt. And everything that would be clear is, you don't have to do anything wrong. All you have to do is sit there and do nothing. That is, if you believe that doing nothing is not wrong. And that is why we are calling upon everybody today as leaders. You have to look forward and understand that it is not an option. We live in a changing world, dynamic world, global world. We have to connect with people from every corner of it. Leadership is changing as well. You have to make different types of decisions. You have to lead teams from all over the globe. Nothing is the same. I can guarantee you that. And adaptability is not just something that we should have. It is now becoming a prerequisite of leadership and a prerequisite of business and a prerequisite of your personal life. Because otherwise you get left in the past and nobody wants that. How can we strategize to make sure that we keep up with the times? I want to have as much engagement as possible with the audience today. So I just want everybody to throw out some ideas. The question being, how can we strategize to adapt? What do you think, Toastmasters and guests? I would like to hear something from you. Toastmaster Dan Odero, question to you. How can we best adapt? What strategies do you think we can use?
I believe by gaining consensus with those who we lead, those we work with. So some consensus helps us to adapt because we listen to other people's points of view.
That's amazing. Consensus, gaining consensus from those we lead. That can help, right? I see in the chat somebody says adopting a growth mindset. Those are two amazing ones. Mental preparation, having a mindset that is ready to change. Listen more, talk less. Please keep them coming, keep them coming. I just want us to engage for about a minute so that we all feel how urgent it is that we adopt adaptability. Anybody else want to unmute and say something?
Yeah, blend in.
Pardon?
You just blend in. Blend with the flow. That is,
Blending with the flow.
yeah. So that's
All right.
the most simplest way to adapt. Yeah.
Baron, my two
With the
cents.
flow is one.
Baron, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My way of is where you are is perfect, but where you want to see things going, okay? Become visionary, become future oriented. Somebody said growth mindset,
Yes.
okay? This is where how you're going to adapt to it too is have a bigger vision of where you want to see to the same point when pandemic happened and all the clubs were closing down. Brahm adapted to it and started an online club. Was it easy? No, change is never easy, but somebody has to lead the way. Somebody has to take the people along. That's my 2 cents of adaptability is or changes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is a very important point. Two important points. The floor is still open, but let me just comment on this. Two very important points right there. Somebody has to lead the way. That is one reason on its own. Somebody has to lead the way. We can't fail to point that out. The second one is we look at how the COVID pandemic brought us in a situation where it was adapt or go out of existence. And as you've pointed out, Toastmaster Brahm adapted. And not only do we have leadership speak, we have the Global Leaders Impact Summit, which happened recently with over 500 Toastmasters and non-Toastmasters from all over the world joining in. Now, if we had not adapted to COVID situations, would we have been able to do that? Answer is no. I have something else in the chat that says, understand how the future will unfold and adapt rapidly. Toastmaster Christine Navirio says, accept to be vulnerable, accept that you will not know it all. Amazing points. This is all true about adapting. Now, Toastmasters and guests, I'm going to share a few tips on how we can adapt. But before that, I would just like to hear one more time from the audience. How do you personally adapt in your life? Let's not talk about what we have read of Google, but in your personal life, how do you adapt? Just 3 takers. Yes, Toastmaster Sandra?
For me, curiosity and constantly studying my reaction to other people and their reactions to me, because that is critical in knowing. Sometimes a leader thinks they're a leader and therefore doesn't give any space for others to develop their own leadership. So we have to always be aware, are we pushing our way through or are we bringing people with us? Because we think differently on the definition of a leader at different times. And we're always in flux learning.
Amazing. Curiosity and how we have to encourage that feedback, self-feedback and to others. And from your point, I also gathered collaboration, which is amazing. Any other point? Any other takers? Any other takers? You could put your virtual hand up because when you put your physical hand up, I may not be able to scroll through, but I see Aswathy, Dr. Aswathy.
Yes. For me, I think upgrading myself and upskilling is the key, because if you want to adapt to the changing scenario, you should evolve also. So, and for that, upskilling is very important.
Upskilling, absolutely. Upskilling is a very important thing. I agree with you. 1 year ago, tell me to speak like this in front of an audience? Absolutely not. No, that was laughable. I would not be able to. But now, learning that new skill and then taking it further to learning how to deliver keynote speeches helps to put me back on that. And to steer the conversation back now, let me share a couple of not a couple, about 10 strategies. You better be ready. Strap yourselves up, get your notebooks ready. This is it. The first one was mentioned, promote a growth mindset. A growth mindset is best defined by defining the opposite of a growth mindset, which is a scarcity mindset. Now, scarcity begets scarcity. That is it. There's not much to be said about that. Scarcity begets scarcity. So if you think scarcity, you attract scarcity. When you think growth, you attract growth. And the thing about growth is there is no limit to it. So sometimes instead of waiting to adapt, you will be ahead of the curve. That's number one. Number two, stay agile and flexible. Stay agile and flexible. Now, I come from Uganda, which is in Africa. The majority of the people do not keep up with the times in a way that you would find, for example, my mentor, Dr. Christine, is here, and she's on social media, she's on Zoom, because she sees where the world is going with it. Where I come from is a village. People have not yet opened WhatsApp accounts. How about Twitter? How about Zoom, right? So staying agile and flexible helps you to keep up with the times, helps you to stay ahead of them as well. Number three, Toastmasters and guests. The point that Toastmaster Sandra said, encourage feedback and collaboration. So encourage getting feedback. Feedback could be receiving it like this, or it could be how she said, observing how people react to you, observing what is happening around you, asking for it as well. And you will be able to adapt, you will be able to learn, as well as collaboration. If we had only one person in today's meeting, it would not happen. All of us gathered here shows the impact, and it shows that we as leaders are in the middle of adapting. Next, we shall go to planning for contingencies. Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Brahm, I just want to give you a quick question here. I know you had plan A when you were handling the Global Leadership Impact Summit. How many more plans did you have?
I didn't have a plan B.
Didn't have a plan B?
No.
All right. But I am sure your timer had a backup timer and a backup timer.
Of course, we had a lot of backups in people, in resources, but how we wanted to conduct the thing, we just adapt. You are right in a way. Okay, so let me tell you, I never have a plan B, but I go with what I put out in the world and what comes back. So, for example, I wanted 3 international presidents. All of them were very busy, so I turned to my very next resource, which is Jim Kokoski, and said, "Can you come and do a keynote speech?" And then, I just wait and see what's coming back, and then, taking what's coming back, I just arrange it in a puzzle that becomes the picture. So I don't have very fixed ideas. I'm not like rigid. And that gives me the ability to adapt and be flexible and agile and move with what's coming when I put out things and what's come back. And so people find the events flawless that way, because it's totally flexible. We are not rigid and say, this is the only way it's got to be done.
Thank you so much for that. That's amazing, because now we can see what happens in the background. In the background, it means you had to look around and say, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't work, we have these plans. Just to run through the few remainder: empower your fellow leaders or empower employees. The same way we are here mentoring each other and empowering each other. The next one is going to be leading by example. Are you going to tell me to deliver a speech when I have never seen you deliver a speech? Are you going to go and tell people on television, hey, this is how the market works, when you are not in that industry yourself? So leading by example is one of the ways that we can be able to adapt, because it helps us to challenge ourselves, which is a point of its own, challenging yourself. Look for ways to get yourself in that space where you are uncomfortable. As earlier on we had, ships get broken down when they sail. That's paraphrasing, when they sail. But they are not supposed to stay at the dock. They're supposed to be out in the sea where they are not comfortable. Communicating effectively, what we are doing here. But the last one I want to share with you is celebrating your successes. That helps you in your mind to realize, yes, I have done this, and it is time to adapt. Toastmasters and guests, adapt or go out of existence. Nobody will be there to explain the moment you're going out of existence, but you had better adapt. Toastmaster of the day, over to you.
Thank you very much. So we have 10 minutes of question and answer now, I believe, Baron. So let me just see what we can do here is Baron. I think I'll just let the timer time the next 10 minutes for you. Okay, which is according to the agenda. And you've already been asking questions. So what's the next thing you want done?
There's a video on my side. One of the reasons I have not been able to share slides is a technical issue.
Sure. Okay.
There's a video that we had shared that you can share on the screen before we can.
All right. So let me explain this. Baron and me had put together a couple of other things to go with this presentation. And this video that I'm about to show, so Karin, just spotlight me, or I mean, sorry, Zoom Master, just spotlight me and not Baron, so we can have the whole video on the screen. While I'm setting it up, what I want to say is that this video is taken from a television series, which is called the full title will actually appear just before the video, the actual title. And it is Dr. Alice Roberts from the University of Birmingham, where she had a 5-part series in a BBC program. And in part number 4, I believe, she says why human beings have succeeded so well. You know, we started out as 2 people. Every human being, 8 billion of us started out as 2 people in somewhere around East Africa. This is through the DNA sequencing and the mitochondrial strands in the DNA, how they've sort of been able to find out that there was one woman and 1 man in somewhere in East Africa that have become 8 billion people all over the world. People live in Siberia in minus 50 degrees centigrade. And there's some people that live in desert areas that is plus 50 degrees and more centigrade, 100 degrees centigrade difference. Adaptability. We've adapted so well. We are such a successful species. But now we live in cities and in homes and in comforts, and we forget these 3 things that she said that have made human beings very successful. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the video.
So I've come to the end of this particular journey, and the people I've met along the way have helped me to understand more about these essential human characteristics that we all share: ingenuity, resourcefulness, and adaptability.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So she says 3 things, right? Ingenuity, resourcefulness, and adaptability. Adaptability is one of the key things, and ingenuity, which is what our creativity. All human beings are curious. We are all very creative people. We've forgotten our creativity, our ingenuity. We forget that we are very resourceful, you know, which is our inner skills, and we can learn more about ourselves and expand our adaptability, our limitations. And that's what she's talking about, and how human beings have become very successful. In the modern world, however, we cling on to our comfort zones and our limitations, and we don't let go. And Nokia ingenious people, that ingenuity. They were smart people. They had the best of everything, and yet they failed. Over to you, Baron. What next?
My first question, especially to you, Toastmaster of the Day, is going to be this. What can leaders intentionally do away from adapting itself of evolution, of nature, of this or that? Leadership is a different conversation. What can leaders do, first and foremost, to be able to identify themselves as adaptable leaders? Share a couple of nudges in that.
So, the key thing, which is of course why we created Leadership Speak as well. And I've been engaged as a coach for 30 years outside in the world. I've got corporate experience of more than 50 years across 3 different continents. And there's one thing that we find that makes leaders become great leaders or legendary leaders. It is to have personal mastery, to be able to understand yourself. When you truly understand yourself, which is personal mastery, to become self-aware. And there's no limitations to self-awareness. When you're engaged in self-awareness, and there's very few leaders who are engaged in self-awareness, that it gives you the ability to sort of contend with a lot of things that are coming at you. When people wonder, how can you do this project, the Future of Leadership project and big projects, and they just went flawlessly? Well, I constantly engage in who I am, self-awareness, and the club that we created, what it is for. We draw members from all over the world, and they see possibility. And so it is all about, to begin with, personal mastery. Are you committed to personal mastery? Because then that gives you the ability to be flexible and agile and adaptable and connect with people, which is very, very important in being able to create teams and collaborate and so on, and create communities. See, all the things that we always talk about in Leadership Speak is all to do with that. Baron.
Thank you so much. I want to open it up a bit more. So I see somebody whom I hope they are ready for it, Toastmaster Magin Njoroge, who is a division director in one of the divisions in District 114. So maybe Magin Njoroge, you could put your hand up so that you're spotlighted if you're able to speak. All right. Wow, very glad to see you today. It is a pleasant surprise. Now, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining in. I want to speak about the other aspect among the 3 that Dr. Alice Roberts spoke about, and this is resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is something that makes it's the line. Either you are resourceful or you are not. How have you made yourself resourceful in Toastmasters and outside Toastmasters in the last so many years?
That's an excellent question. One of the things that I do to keep myself abreast of what's happening in the environment is to purpose to be what we call a reading leader. Because reading makes leaders, and leaders read. And as I continually scan the environment, what's happening on the global space, we all acknowledge that we are living in what we call a global village today. You're able to connect effortlessly and be in a room that has got fellow world leaders. And therefore, we must be hungry for knowledge. We must continually interact and network with one another in order to find out what's happening in your part of the world. What can I borrow? What can you borrow from me? And in the process, we remain relevant, not just to ourselves, but also in the environment that we are living in, and the leaders that we are seeking to serve and to grow as we continually glean from one another. Back to you, Baron.
Thank you so much. Readers are leaders, and leaders are readers. and you have to be a reading leader. That helps you to stay ahead of the curve once again, be hungry for the knowledge, make everything a learning opportunity. Please spotlight the Toastmaster of the day once again. I have a final one for you. And this is about ingenuity. Yes, this is about ingenuity. Just speak on it for 1-2 minutes before I ask you the question, the final question on adaptability. What is it?
So, you know, one of the things about human beings is that we are very curious. Curiosity is part of our need to be curious, to be able to discover new things, to look at new things that new, and that is, I'm talking from our evolutionary point of view. And so we are very curious, which is what Dr. Ellis Robert calls as ingenuity. And so to be able to move out of Africa and to become 8 billion people, we had to be very, very curious and creative, which is ingenuity is what you mentioned. You know, we created fire and the wheel and all the tools, and then from hunter and gatherers to, you know, farming, and then making buildings and so on. However, our ingenuity is sort of overtaken us at times in certain areas and undertaken us in certain areas, hence the state of the world. Over to you, Baron.
Thank you so much. So the final question before I hand back to the rest of the meeting, to you, Toastmaster of the day, is this. We have spoken about the negative impact of not adapting. What does it look like for somebody who is very adaptable, such as yourself? While I know it is still, every day is still a push forward, challenging yourself, what does it look like in 30 seconds?
So you know, you really have to get unstuck with where you are. You can never get stuck. You're constantly in motion. You're constantly reading and watching experts and saying what they are saying, and does it really fit in? And sometimes even say, and of course, never sort of totally agreeing with everything that's going on either. And then using your intuition. Intuition is so important, and in the ability to, does it really fit in this picture? And where am I going to go with my strengths and who I am, with what is being said out there, and who am I becoming? And am I becoming a better human being? Those are the key things. Over to you.
Thank you so much. That is accurate on what it looks like to adapt. On the other side of adapt, of going out of existence, I cannot explain what it looks like today, but I urge you, Toastmasters and guests, to not wait for that wake-up call. Back to you, Toastmaster Brahm.
Thank you very much, Baron. Wonderful session on leaders adapt. Now we all know how to adapt and go beyond our limitations, or have a gist of it and pursue that. Read more, learn more, be flexible, be agile, and we can win the day. And we can become a great Toastmasters Club too at the same time, right? Awesome. I would take every opportunity to encourage and inspire our members, and we can be the #1 club, June the 30th, 2024. You can, we can, all of us together. We just need to keep adapting and moving and learning and so on, which is why we are in Toastmasters. Our next session is all about speakers. We have ended the official education keynote speaking. Our speakers, we have got 5 speakers today. And our very first speaker is our Sergeant at Arms of the club, Paramjit Singh. And his evaluator is, I've got some technical difficulties. So I will tell you in a second who his evaluator is Ram Lakhanpal. And so Ram, if you can tell us the objectives of Paramjit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, for the day. Toastmaster Brahm, Toastmaster Paramjit will be speaking from the Leadership Development Path, Level 3, Project number 2, Planning and Implementing. What's the purpose of this project? It's for him, the speaker that is, our speaker is to practice developing a plan and bringing that plan to fruition. Good word, fruition. As well, our speaker is to share some aspects of planning and implementing his small-scale project. Our speaker has requested something for me to look out for. 2 things. One, eye contact, and the other, Zoom presence. Speech duration is the typical 5 to 7 minutes. Mr. Toastmaster, returning virtual space.
Thank you very much,
You.
Brahm. So Paramjit has said this about his introduction to me. Planning is key to success, and I'll read it exactly as written it for me. Which normally it's to be written in third person, but he's written in first person, and I'll read it the way it is. Planning is the key to success, and I have gained a lot in my professional and personal life by planning and implementing the plan on time. Wow, okay. The speech is about planning and implementing a plan to become competitive in the market. Ladies and gentlemen, Paramjit Singh, all the way from Dubai. Wars are won in general's tent. Wars are won in the general's tent. Paramjit Singh.
This was a such Friday evening when I was urgently summoned by my project manager. As I entered his room, I saw his face was a worrying face. And it proved right when he said to me, Paramjit, we are in deep trouble. You know, our tooling cost is skyrocketing from the last 2 years. And the management has decided that we will be buying tools from outside, maybe from Turkey or maybe from China. This will affect our department's profit. And if this continues, the consequences will be really very harsh. We have to do something immediately. During the next 2 days, I couldn't take the rest, and I was always pondering upon the stock challenge. How can I, as a manager, with my area of consideration, can make an effect on the total cost? How a manager can plan? After a lot of deliberation, I came across a plan, a project plan, so that we can reduce the tooling cost by 7%, as it was the major factor affecting the total cost of the project and the tools. I presented the same project to my project manager next day, and he approved it. Now, to make this ambitious project a reality, I was requiring a wonderful team of people who are very cohesive, have a vision, and have a purpose, and keeping an eye on the goal unless the goal is achieved. And I was fortunate to have 3 good experts in my team. Matthew George, who is having 35 years of manufacturing experience in the field, and Mr. Ajit Patil, who was a workshop manager for 25 years, as well as our cost and accountant, Mr. Yogaraj, having 17 years of experience of purchasing the things. After the initial meetings, we found and identified that there are a lot of factors influencing the total overall cost. However, there are 3 major factors which are really increasing our costs, and we have to focus on them. Number 1 is the optimized workforce efficiency. Number 2, reduce the price by simplifying the designs. Number 3, using standard items to reduce the prices. And we began with a very positive note by directing the design department to innovate simple product designs and the tool design without compromising with the quality or the functionality of the whole product. We also encourage them to use the standard items easily available at a less price to economize our manufacturing facility. This worked very well. Everybody collaborated and we reviewed every single design and recommended the modification if any of them are required. Not only this helped us to reduce the cost, it also helped us to learn new ways of designing, simplified ways of designing. However, the second and the most important optimizing workforce started with a roadblock. The workshop employees, they became non-cooperative because they felt and they feared that they will be made the scapegoat, they will be burdened with more work. However, we connected with them, clarified their concerns as well as our intentions and how much it is important to work on this project to save our department and overall for the company and all the stakeholders on the line. This inclusion gave us a very positive output, and all of workers started coming with different ideas like quality cycle, like meeting, daily production meeting, and we had a new fuel to our car to go for a success. And recently, I met my project manager and informed him about the project. And I was delighted to tell him that in last 3 months, we were able to save 5% of the total tooling cost. He motivated us, encouraged us by saying that you are doing great. And with this discipline, dedication, and diligence, the day is not far when you will be able to achieve the 7% target. So, my dear Toastmaster friends, during this journey, I learned that proper planning, meticulous planning, flawless implementing, as well as keeping an eye on the project is the key for the successful of a project. And I really believe in Stephen Covey's words, have time for planning, because wars are won in the journal stench. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paramjit. So that really shows the adaptability, planning ahead, understanding the situation. It's not to be flexible, being agile, and to adapt to new situations. It's all about growth, going beyond the set limitations, looking beyond, okay, no, you don't want to be Nokia, of course, you don't want to be BlackBerry. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is not able to join us because either Thati is in South Africa and she works in remote areas. So she could probably be experiencing a rolling blackout, which is normal in where she is, or she could be working in a very remote area and she can't reach us from where she is. So we will miss out on Thati and we will come back to her if she does enter the meeting later on. We'll go on to speaker number 3, Vivian. Vivian, I hope you're ready for this. And her evaluator currently, if you can just spotlight the evaluator first. Thank you. And our evaluator is Muhammad Azimuddin. Hi, Muhammad. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. It is my privilege to introduce Vivian Robinson. She believes that technology is constantly evolving and reshaping the world. As we know that artificial intelligence has become an integral part of this ever-changing landscape, it also has become the important ingredient of adaptability. As leaders, we must proactively prepare ourselves to embrace the new norms. This necessitates a commitment to continuous education, training, and active participation in opportunities that foster adaptability in both the leadership styles and roles. While different ways are available for everyone to learn leadership and adapt it in the best way possible to move forward, failure is not an option. And that is the concept behind my speaker's speech today. Vivian is going to share with us some of her own experience of leadership vision, delivering her insights through the visionary communication path, speech number 2, understanding your leadership style. Ladies and gentlemen, please greet Vivian Robinson. Failure is not
no,
an
no, no,
option.
no. Muhammad Azimuddin, you don't introduce the speaker. You just tell us the objectives. You went over the board. You just had to read the objectives for less than 30 seconds. Thank you very much. So I know sometimes we get carried away, right? Because we do things differently in different clubs. And so we have to adapt to leadership speak. Thank you. If you can just spotlight the people correctly, thank you very much. Vivian Robinson is all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. She's talking about leadership styles, as you've heard from Muhammad Azimuddin. And she says, when faced with the leadership challenge, she adapts her leadership style. Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, Vivian Robinson, failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. Vivian Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and to our welcome guests. Fellow Toastmasters, in my experience while I worked, I had a leadership style of being an innovator. And that's because I had worked with teams that were motivated, that were focused, and were laser sharp on the goals. And we worked cohesively as a team, and we reached and met all our goals. Fellow Toastmasters, in 2013, that changed. I was assigned to a group of underachievers. They were not making goals, they were not productive, their attendance was poor, and the morale was poor. The first thing I asked when I was assigned to this team is, oh, me, why me, why me? And then I thought about it and I started to focus. And instead of saying, why me, I said, why not me? I'm up for the challenge. I realized with a team like this, I'd have to be authoritative. I'd have to be clear. I'd have to express to them what needed to be done, how we work on the goals, and how we get there. And most of all, I had to make sure they understood that failure is not an option. That as I entered this team, we would pull it together and we would succeed. The first thing I did is I pulled all the history on the unit so I could see exactly when they started to go off course. And as I reviewed the history, I started to formulate how to steer the ship so that it came back into the fold and we could move forward. Having done that, I called for a staff meeting. The staff gathered, and as the staff gathered, I started to reintroduce myself, tell a little bit about my experience, and make them aware that this was not a new experience for me, that I had done the work, I had supervised the work, and also I had reviewed the work. So I was familiar with what needed to be done. The first thing I asked the team was, does everyone know the 5 goals? A couple of people went, yeah, but mostly this is what I received. Silence. I decided then to direct everyone's attention to the slides that I had posted. The slides that I posted had the 5 goals listed. One of the goals was to increase the return to work of injured workers. The second one was to decrease the compensation cost. The third one was to expand training and compliance. The fourth one was to provide technical assistance to the other units. And the fifth one was directly to our unit, and that was to improve attendance and increase attendance by 20%. Again, I finished the goals and I asked, are there questions? And this is what I received. Silence. I went on then to explain to the group that my method of leading is by the team, that we are a team. We all work together and we work cohesively together. No negativity on this team, only positive thoughts on this team. And I again said to them, failure is not an option. We are going to meet our goals. Following that, introduction and letting them know what the goals are, or reminding them of the goals and reminding them that we are a team. I went on to explain to them that by way of assisting them, we would have training. I'd be available, I'd be on site, I would not be working remotely, I would be right there with them, and we would all move at the same time. I did observe a couple of things that needed to have immediate attention. One of those things is that there was a lot of traffic in and out of the unit. There were managers coming in, supervisors coming in, and everyone was pulling at them for information. I decided for that I would resolve that issue by having anyone enter the unit come to me. Next, I noticed that we had all the cubicles aligned by a full wall of windows, but each of the windows and where the clerks sat, they were backed into the window. So they were all looking at a wall. And immediately I decided that this needs to change. I had the cubicles moved to a half moon so that each person had visibility to the landscape. And that was one of the ways I thought that would increase the morale. The next thing I did is we met one-on-one. I explained what the goals were. I explained what the expectations were, and that everyone would be held accountable. With that, we started 2013 and we started running. And along the way, we had a couple of hiccups. And when we saw those hiccups, we stopped and we addressed the hiccups. We had a couple of non-performers. That was addressed. We talked to the non-performers, gave them an opportunity to improve and an opportunity also to seek out another unit, because this might not be the unit for them since they were not able to produce. We continue to move forward. And as we move to the end of the year, the first year, 2013, they landed in spot number 16. That was a lot better than being did last. 2014, the unit began to see that yes, we can improve. We can make our goals. We can stand out. We're in 2014 and slot number 5. We're making progress. Now the unit's really getting motivated. They're getting crunk up and they're motivated and they're working and everyone's pulling together and we're all working together. 2015 comes. Beginning of 2015, we have a pep talk. And I'm telling everybody, we went for a gathering so we could do some team building. And then I said to them, we were number 5 in 2014. We're now in 2015. So what do you think? Most of them said, we can be number 1. I want to be number 1. And so we got busy. We started working. Sometimes we work 10 hours a day. Sometimes we work Saturdays. Sometimes we work Sundays. But we got the work done. At the end of 2015, fellow Toastmasters, we were number 1. That team had not been number 1 for 6 years. But in 2015, we were number 1. The success of the team was not mine. The success of the team was the cohesiveness of the people there. I simply was a catalyst to pull things together and encourage them to move forward. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Vivian, when you create a team and actually think of themselves as a team rather than as individuals just coming and going as a please. So, you can weed out the non-performers or ask them, is this really the team for you? Are you a team member? Same thing applies to leadership speak, right? We are not individuals just coming and going and just coming to speak and holding a role or whatever. You're part of the team. You're part of a team of made up of 50 people in this club. And the very things that Vivian mentioned applies to this club as well. And I love it when you said how you brought them to number 1. I wish and I hope you can spearhead our club to be number 1 in June of 2024. Thank you, Vivian. I hope you take the challenge, Vivian. Our next speaker is Noorul Munawwara. And her evaluator is going to be, let me just, Sudarshan Seshadri. And if you can, hi Sudarshan, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Awesome, awesome. Let's have the objectives.
Sure. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, today our speaker Noorul is speaking to us from the motivational strategies path. This is a level 1 project 1 speech, which is an icebreaker. The specific objective of this speech is for the speaker to introduce herself to the club. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sudarshan. I'll just wait for the right spotlighting. Thank you very much. I would suggest to the Zoom master and Paramjit that the Toastmaster day should always be spotlighted until the speaker takes over. They'll be easier. Thank you. Noorul Munawwara says that this is our icebreaker speech. And as the leader, we want a smooth sail, but unexpectedly we come across challenges. However, strategical planning and motivation become good tools to achieve our goals and go beyond expectations. This is all about adapting as well, as you can see. Noorul Munawwara, challenge versus motivation. Challenge versus motivation, Noorul Munawwara.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Zoom Master, can you give me the host so that I can share the screen?
You can do that.
Okay. No, I can't.
Okay. You want to co-host? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just give me one.
Go ahead.
Now you can do that.
Thank you. Toastmaster and my dear friends of Leadership Speak. 2021 was the year that I took the leadership in District 82 as a district director. As all of you know, that 2020-2021 year was under pandemic. Hardly we were able to go outside the house. Hardly we were able to visit our office. And most of the time we were inside the house. There was a challenge for me because I was the first female leader from my country to lead the District 82. And it was the year that we reformed, the 82 was reformed, and we, both Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu, departed as District 82 and District 120. No sooner we reformed June 30th, past district directors called us for a meeting. And we were told, don't think of becoming number one. Don't think of to become a Smedley Distinguished District. I was thinking to myself, what a challenge they are giving. Of course, I know that it was a pandemic, but I took that as a challenge, but I didn't utter a word to anyone. My dear friends, it was not an easy task. At the beginning, I had to go through the past history of District 82 from 2008 until 2023, because I wanted to extract the Sri Lankan data alone, excluding the Indian data. As all of you know, all of us having the number challenges, the number of payments, number of clubs, and number of distinguished clubs. And the number of payments makes a huge impact, though it is not a practical thing to measure anything else. But I was following carefully from July 1st, 2020, from 2019, just to check what will be my base number. As I expected, when they refreshed the dashboard, I had some 8,000 plus, 10,000 plus payment numbers. I knew there's something wrong in the data. I had to deal with Toastmasters International, and I had to get the worksheet from them and made it my calculation correct and made it firm on the dashboard. That was my first challenge. My dear friends, as all of you know, that team is very important. It was pandemic, but still I wanted to meet my leaders. But hotels were not giving us venues because they were dead scared to keep us together for 2 days. But one hotel agreed to give us the venue, where I was able to gather all the division directors, extended team, area directors, and I brought the entire team to the location. And we stayed overnight and we had 2 full-day training. And it became the day that we started with positive way, because members started to interact and they understood their goals. Yes, then our focus was to make our members motivated to retain their membership. So I started to send them out whenever they really upload their educational awards. I started to print a certificate with a ribbon, and if they have completed a path, and I made it sure that they receive a pathway proficient pin. If they win a triple crown, for them to receive a triple crown pin, etc., etc. And all the Toastmasters started to share this in their Facebook, and it was trending, and members were motivated to do more levels and more educational goals to receive these letters and pins and the certificates. Also, to encourage the club, what we gave some initiatives, because to give them coin or club ribbons or whatever it is. And what was most attracted was most of the people wanted to receive the club officer pin. So most clubs went and added more than 10 new members, and they received these club officers pin set from the district. My dear friends, I didn't stop there. I wanted to meet again my leaders. So on the 1st of January, I invited them for an evening coffee and gave them some gifts and handwritten greetings card. And we gave some t-shirts. So that motivated them to focus on their goals and help the members and connect up with them. And some of my top 7, they were free most of the time. So I gave them opportunity to take up some more projects. So we started the speech contest, All Island speech contest online, and it was given to the logistic manager, and he was the chair. And again, we originated another project, the speaker to trainer. So PRM took that as a challenge. So both of them were engaged in completing their task. Members engaged, area and the dealers were engaged, and the district was on top of everything. And finally, I brought all the area directors on March 1st and gave them a full house training on achieving their goals. And finally, again, under the pandemic, we had to have the deck and the district council meeting. Only one hotel promised us to give a private room to conduct the district executive council meeting and tech meeting, where only 8 of us were together, top 8 were together to conduct it. It was not a smooth sail, but finally we became this medley distinguished district. And we chartered 22 clubs and achieved more than our expectation. But I didn't stop there. On June 30th, we had the final meeting and we recognized all the leaders. And finally, and after June 30th, on July 1st, I sent out the sweet box, a certificate for all the leaders, including the extended team, district division directors, and area directors. And July 1st, I handed over the gavel to the incoming district director. We met, for a coffee, and I handed over my responsibility to her. Finally, my dear friends, not only we became Smedley Distinguished District, all 8 division directors became President Distinguished Division Directors, and 33 area directors became the Distinguished or above. And we were able to upload more than 2,000 educational awards at the end. And finally, even after July 1st, I printed the annual book, annual book, and sent them out with a thank you note, pasting their pictures, and with handwritten appreciation and with a value coin. And everyone was happy, and they felt they were working with a family. They were working for a family. My dear friends, how we were achieved this situation, become this Smedley Distinguished District. We had to do the situational analysis. We had to connect up and give proper training with proper planning. We were able
you're running
to
way over time.
motivate, and finally we were able to appreciate, and maybe became the Smedley Distinguished District. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Noorul. Wonderful. Normally, icebreakers are 4 to 6 minutes, but here's a challenge for you, Noorul. You and Vivian can get together and bring this club to be #1. Both of you seem to be like amazing at motivating and putting teams together and getting to be #1. Vivian just spoke about her group being #1 that hadn't achieved in about 5 or 6 years. And here's Noorul. During the pandemic, to be Smedley's distinguished in a district, that is phenomenal. Thank you so much. I will be talking to you and Vivian together soon. Our next speaker is Sandra Valks, and her evaluator is Daniel Omondi, Daniel Odero, Omondi. How are you today, Daniel?
I am very well this evening in Nairobi.
Awesome. Go ahead with the objectives.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, good evening from Nairobi. This evening or this morning, I am happy I have the privilege of evaluating Sandra Valks, who is pursuing the presentational mastery path, level 3, which is persuasive speaking. The purpose of the speech is for Sandra to understand the types of persuasive speaking. She's got 5 to 7 minutes. She will deliver a well-organized persuasive speech on any topic. She may choose to appeal to emotions, ethics, or logics in her speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style that she chooses. It is not a report on the content of persuasive speaking. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much. I would ask, of course, Noorul to pass on the hosting back to Paramjit, because he doesn't have control anymore. Even if he can have the control back, pass on the hosting back to him. Next speaker, yes, who is Sandra Valks, and she has told me her expertise interest is because of her 30 years of Toastmasters experience that she's be speaking about what she's speaking about today. And which is our next speaker, of course. With 30 years of Toastmasters growth, she calls herself the compassionate queen of straight talk, is ready to share her own brand of straight talk in her speech Sandra Valks, who are you and who cares? Who are you and who cares? Sandra Valks.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. And just to carry on, our final speaker today is Sandra Valks, DTM. Sandra's quite a bio to share today, so let me just bring you up to date. She joined Toastmasters April '93 as part of her healing process. Shortly after joining, she was president of her home club, Bay of Quinte, Trenton. She ran several speechcraft programs, which built membership and acted as a fundraiser. Of course, from there, she went every year on the executive somewhere. In 2004, 2005, Sandra was the area governor, so she was old. She was the governor at that time, 2 years, began an area club, got 4 clubs. She worked in her home club still today, never one to sit around. Sandra also got involved in, she attended BCI, attended Brighton Secondary, attended grade school at Mapleview, was treated to a little container of Smarties as she was being potty trained. Yeah, 18 months being potty trained. Help me welcome Sandra with her speech title, Who Are You and Who Cares? Who Are You and Who Cares? Well, I don't know. So I doodle? Maybe I'll just sit back and close my eyes. Feeling a little peckish. Maybe I'll take a little bathroom break, go get something to eat. Because I have no idea. I read all about that in the program brochure. Didn't you? Did I need to hear it all over again? Give me a break. Yeah, I think I'll doodle or look on my phone. Have you ever been to conferences where they handed out the brochure with that long list? I didn't even read all of my long list. But you did note I got potty trained at 18 months. I was ahead of the game. But what's that got to do with my speech today? Have you ever been to a conference where they hand it out in the brochure, you go dutifully reading it through, and then they get up there and read the whole boring thing all over again? We know they're educated. We know they're brilliant. We know, yeah. But what are you going to talk to me today that I'm going to listen to? Now there's the challenge of an introduction. So if you noticed, I didn't give Brahm a very good introduction today. Really, I didn't. All he really got was the title and that it was going to be Sandra. I hope you noticed how flat that was, because do you know still what I'm going to talk about? Because there was nothing in my introduction to Brahm that let you know why should you listen to me today? What's it got to do with it? And that, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, is the whole purpose of an introduction. A well-crafted speech, which everyone gives here, deserves a well-crafted introduction. And that's not just to say, oh yeah, there's Sandra, she's got her DTM. I've only got one of it. Others of you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't care. I know what I did to get my DTM, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter. Is that going to matter to you listening to whatever I have to say today? Why Sandra? Why this speech? Why this topic? Why this audience? That's what matters. And that's what needs to be in the introduction, not all of this potty training stuff. Read about that. Well, did you know that if you looked in Toastmasters International, I tried to find it on the website and I couldn't find what I wanted. But in the old manual, the legacy manual, I went and looked it up, and how to introduce this person was in there. And you know, in an introduction, you can plan on the Toastmaster of the day, the MC of the program, to create your introduction out of all this. I don't know how many people, because I've been doing conferences and emceeing for years. I don't know how many people hand this ridiculous biography out, put it in the program, and then stand there and read it. And the speaker is expecting the MC, the Toastmaster of the day, to create an interesting introduction for them. That makes no sense at all. No sense at all. Who knows what the talk is about? The speaker. Who knows how I want to set up the audience? The speaker. And without that, there's no setup. There's just, oh, well, okay. But you know what happens when you don't have a good introduction is you got that blah thing, and then people are in the audience thinking, okay, what am I listening for? And so you as the speaker have to work really hard. I know Mariana and I worked on her introductions and getting them changed, right, Mariana? And we went from, okay, I've done this directing, I've been this DTM, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Who are you? And who cares? Well, it turns out that Mariana is a very powerful nutritionist and a health coach. That's what I needed to know, was she would go ahead and talk about those little fat cells that got plump and then got skinny. But if you kept building them, they multiplied. I remember those stories because now I know who she is. Who is Mariana and who cares? I now know who is Mariana, and I do care because then I took her fasting class. You see, that's the magic. So Toastmasters reminds us that an introduction is just like a little mini speech of 1 minute with an opening, a body, and a closing. The opening is designed to open up the whole context, get the enthusiasm going. The body is to explain, why are you speaking about this topic? What do you know about it? Where is your credibility in knowing about this topic? And then the closing, of course, is Brahm's gonna go, yay, bring Sandra on. It's the applause, it's the encouragement to bring them powerfully to the lecture. So I implore you, please create your introduction. Don't have us saying, who are you and who cares? Brahm?
Indeed, who are you? And what gives you the right to do this speech? It should be short, succinct, and relevant to the subject being talked about, with a catchy title. Who are you and who cares? Absolutely, I do. Thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful speech about how to craft an introduction, how a speaker crafts an introduction. It has to be in third-party language, so that, you know, when the introducer reads it, he doesn't read it as I, he reads it as, if it is Sandra, I read it as Sandra, because this is how she wrote. She didn't say, I am Sandra with 30 years of, she wrote Sandra is, you know, and things like that. And wonderfully about what gives her the right, being 30 years in Toastmasters, and why she's doing this speech. So we will do more workshops on how to introduce yourself and how to introduce a speaker, and how to conclude once the speaker has spoken, the bridging statement, which Aswathy is, of course, as you've seen at the Global Leadership Impact Summit, a master at that. Having said that, if we can have the timer post the timings of the speakers in the chat, Karine, if you can do that for us, and I will ask Paramjit or the Zoom master, either one of you, to launch the voting for the best speaker. Thank you. I'll pause for a second there. You can see the poll is now on the screen. Please vote for the best effort speaker. Of course, Tati is not with us, so you can ignore second speaker there, Tati, and vote for the best one there. Thank you very much. And with that, I will now pass it on to our next session. And if you're feeling tired, by the way, for sitting so long on your chair, you can stand up and stretch, whatever you need to do. Breathe, stretch, while I introduce our general evaluator. Hannah Schmidt, she is doing fantastic as a club member. Last week, she was our Toastmaster of the day. So, of course, obviously, this week, she is a general evaluator, which is what we tend to do. She is an adaptable leader and is curious and has an open mind and embraces change to use it to her advantage. Hannah Schmidt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, for that wonderful introduction of me. The theme, leaders adapt. I have my own script there. Adaptable leaders have flexible ways of thinking. They connect and collaborate with team members, are action-oriented, and are willing to go that extra mile to become self-directed leaders. That is why my team of evaluators is focusing on when providing their feedback. My first evaluator is Debbie. I thought you weren't in the house. But now then I found out because I was looking for Deborah, and then I heard, no, it's Debbie. Debbie, over to you to give your evaluation of the toast raised by Lokesh.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Lokesh, your toast today was outstanding. And here's why. Firstly, your toast was extremely well written. The content was excellent. You had very, very good use of words. Secondly, your toast spoke to the theme. And thirdly, your delivery was excellent. You have a very strong voice that commands attention. All of these three things lent itself to a toast that was outstanding. Two suggestions for you. The first suggestion is something that you either could or could not do. It is completely optional. The topic of this toast, being leaders adapt, lent itself very well that if you wanted to have included the name of a person from history who was known for their ability to adapt along with the quote from that person, that would have fit very well. You did not need to include something like that in it, but it is an option. Second suggestion, and this is a little bit of a challenge for you. Eye movement shows up on the camera very, very well. I could tell that you were looking down at your notes a little bit. I could see the shift in your eyes. And my challenge to you would be that the next time that you go to present, that you practice and internalize your speech so that you can do it without notes. One strategy for you that may help you in doing this, and this is a strategy that I have used, is to actually practice a portion of my speech before I go to bed at night. Our minds retain more if we study right before we sleep and have a period of rest. Again, toast was outstanding. There's a suggestion in the future if you wanted to include the name of someone from history. And your challenge, of course, is to practice and internalize your delivery for next time. I will send you this form at the close of the meeting. Very well done today. Congratulations, Lokesh. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Debbie. And thanks for evaluating him in the triad method. And what a good idea to practice your speech before you go to sleep. I think I read a book before I do that. Our next evaluator for the Toastmaster of the Day to evaluate Brahm is our Dr. Aswathy Rajan. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So if you all are wondering why I am evaluating Toastmaster of the Day, so it's because this is a project called Manage Online Meetings. And the purpose of this project is for the member to practice facilitating an online meeting or leading a webinar. So here I am with the evaluation. What a wonderful presentation, DTM Brahm. I just loved every bit of it. starting with the theme. Really a wonderful theme, because as leaders, self-directed leaders, it is very important that all of us know to adapt, learn to adapt with the uncertain situations. And you took a perfect theme for the day. And now I'm going to evaluate your presentation on the basis of your pre-work, which you have done for the meeting and during the meeting, and something about after the meeting. So before the meeting, I could see that the introductions which you collected from all the speakers was so very well presented, because it showed the work you have done. You have collected the perfect introduction related to the theme and why they are going to present this speech, why this particular speech. So you introduced that also. So that was really wonderful. And I also saw that the graphics and the write-up about the meeting was shared well before time in group, in our meeting groups, and also on social media platforms. So that is something which you took care, you diligently followed for the meeting. And now coming to during the meeting, I just loved the transition. Every time when you were speaking or introducing and speaking about the speech which is already delivered, it was so very well connected with the theme. And also you gave some remarks, you gave positive feedback, and then you moved on to the next speaker. So that was really motivating, of course, for the speaker. And then another thing which I noticed was, which I loved in your presentation, that you made sure that you interrupt at relevant points. Whenever there was a deviation from the agenda or we were running over the time, you made sure that you interrupt and point out at the right time. So which is very important, because that is how you facilitate the whole meeting. And also another thing which many of the members may not know was that TMOD was not only present here online, but he was also very well active at the back end, because I could see that how you were coordinating with the role players in the group. We also have a special group where we coordinate with the role players. And if a role player is unable to attend the meeting, or you were trying to reach out to the person, and all those works were parallelly going on. So you were actually doing multitasking, which is commendable. Now, about one suggestion, only one suggestion which I could give you is, I missed I wanted to hear more about the theme. I heard in the beginning, and of course you will be closing it towards the end, but I can suggest one thing, that you could have used your background, or you could have used some slides with some quotations or something about the theme, so that every time you come on screen, at least we could see that. Because during the meeting, when you were introducing the speakers, you hardly get that time to speak about the theme, about the topic. So that is what I have one small suggestion. Other than that, the presentation was marvelous. So thank you so much for leading by example, and we learned a lot from this. Thank you so much. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Aswathy. Yeah, managing online meetings, as you mentioned, is indeed a platform for us to show our capability to perform well, to lead with example. Thank you very much also for mentioning that we have a training session for all role players. Now we come to our evaluators. And here, I'd love to listen to this evaluation of Baron. Over to Mariana, and she says, adaptability got humans where we are today. It is an important trait in any aspect of life, including leadership. Mariana, please give your evaluation of Baron.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam G, fellow Toastmasters, and especially you, Baron. Wow, what a Zoom presence. I rarely see anyone like that. I mean, you just showed up with your big smile, perfect clothing, and you know I was thinking of Barack Obama. Maybe there is not an accident that you have the same initials. You have a perfect Zoom present, and I really liked it. you looked at the camera constantly, you were standing up, you used your hands. And with that, my first suggestion, you use your hands a lot, but because you were too close to the camera, if you use your hands front of your body, we didn't see it, just maybe finger it. So the presenting and standing, one of the things that you can move around. And when you have to aware of your body. And when you're using your hands front of your body, step back and then come closer. So that gives more liveliness to your presentation. I loved your questions. You have strategies and tips at the end. Way too many tips. You can bring up 9, 10 tips, but you should put them in groups. Say that I have 3. And then under all 3 of them, you can have another 3. So we are able to comprehend it better. And my suggestion was, I was planning to suggest to use technology, but I find that your technology failed you. And that can happen. And if you want to be a professional speaker, you have to be ready. You have to have a backup. And if nothing else, everything fails, you can use a piece of paper. Just when you say the word, your main word, show it, because many people likes to receive information with more than one sensory feeling, that not just hearing it, we love to see it. That would be one of my other suggestions. You ask me, how can you be more impactful? I love your speech. It was very informational. What I missed is your passion. If you want to be impactful, you have to bring more passion. You were educational today, and we got the information, and thank you for that. And how can you bring passion? Be more familiar with your subject. And when you stop, use your more vocal variety. You have to speak from your heart. It takes practice, but you have everything you need to have it, to be a very successful speaker, public speaker. So best luck to you. I'm looking forward for your next speech. Back to you, Madam G.
Thank you very much, Mariana. And first of all, I congratulate you on standing up while giving your evaluation, which most of us, we just sit down and relax in our chairs like I do. You stood up and we listened to your evaluation also with more than one sensory: eye contact, vocal variety, and body language, which you did very well. Thank you. Our next evaluator for Paramjit is Ram. Toastmaster Ram is as passionate Toastmaster who after 6.5 years continues to attend meetings on a regular basis. Listen to this, on a regular basis. His attendance is close to 100%, which points to the level of enthusiasm he has about Toastmasters. He will be evaluating Paramjit. Ram, the virtual stage is yours. Please evaluate Paramjit.
Thank you, Madam GE, and especially our speaker, Toastmaster Paramjit. What a flawless presentation. I was looking for things that you could improve upon, and which I'll cover at the end. But the eyes were on you, so look out. The beginning till the very end. People watched. What is it going to talk about next? Your objectives were met. A resounding yes, your objectives were met. Organizations you talked about, they seek out cost reduction measures. You started out with 5%, then you proved it could be improved upon a little bit more, and then you went on to 7%. That was really, really good. And there were other things, adaptability, for instance, to constant change was very good. There are a couple of quotes that I liked to mention, which are really good. Stephen Covey, one of my favorites. I've got a few books on Stephen Covey. have time for planning. And without that, it's leading to disaster. And it was very good. And another simple analogy that you mentioned was failing to plan is preparing to fail. Those two I'll remember. And the other things that I liked very much were, while not a requirement, but it plowed so naturally into your entire speech. You had vocal variety, up and down and sideways and backwards, pregnant pauses, and your hand gestures were amazing. Very, very good. And the two things that you wanted me to look out for, eye contact. Now, those were really, really good, effective. Eye contact. You contacted the entire audience. Of course, I was moved by your Zoom presence as well, and your Zoom master as well. So you were right there, and that did very, very good. The other thing that I thought was worthy of mentioning, your storytelling skills is so much inherent in you, like a joke master. I think when you get together with your friends, you are the joke master all the time. I'm pretty sure you'll smile about that. You developed a plan, you brought it to fruition. That was really, really good. And the other thing is project role players. The improvement a little bit about identifying so-and-so is playing this role, my supervisor. Names and title would sort of put things together. It put things in a bow, and that will be really, really worthy. And the other thing is, in summary, I would like you to do a little bit saying, well, we start on the project. In summary, I will be doing this and that. And I think those would add on to the little things that you need. Otherwise, this speech is flawless. Wonderful. Great job. Madam GE, returning virtual back to you.
Thank you very much. Paramjit, just a note that I put here. Paramjit, we are not in deep trouble, as you mentioned right in the beginning, with your evaluator Ram, and quite right. Also, Ram had a flawless evaluation for you, and repeating some of the quotes Paramjit used to strengthen the message that he had for us was won in a general stint. That is excellent. Thank you very much, Ram. Our next evaluator for Vivian is Muhammad. Muhammad, over to you, please.
Thank you, Madam GE. So today I listened to the speech of Vivian Robinson, and as an evaluator, my role was to just analyze that the speaker is giving different type of leadership styles, and then he is discussing the experience of her own leadership styles at different situations. So when I listened to this speech, I changed my mind a little, and I found that the title is really attracting. Failure is not an option. So I decided to just evaluate the speech as a leader who can enforce his idea that failure is not an option to his audience. And that is what I'm going to do. So as a leader, Vivian, you have well explained how failure is not an option in your speech. So first you discuss about the adaptability. That is really one of the ingredients that a leader should have in order to succeed always. And then you discuss about that how clarity of goal works in the team. And then very few leaders have also considered the technical aspect of the business objectives, but you are considering here. That is one of the ingredient of the complete package. And then you talk about the teamwork. Teamwork is also the base of every success, and that you have well explained about the teamwork. And then motivation is also one of the factors that work as a leader. And the lesson learned also one of the most interesting thing. And what I found in that most interesting thing is your conclusion that the success is not my own alone. It is the team success. So this actually has elaborated your teamwork, your means your leadership styles, and also you elaborated and elevated your team spirit. So these are all the ingredients that I learned from your speech, which can make failure is not an option, is a correct and valid means purpose of a leader. So what I see that you have discussed about your teamwork in 2014, at the time you were at number 5, but very next year, you motivated the team as a leader, and you have in your mind, and you are having a strong belief in that failure is not an option. And that made you to move forward and make your team at number 1. One thing I just want to elaborate here, that when you are delivering a speech in this way, just be a little bit more articulated. For example, when you are discussing the technical aspect, you jumped in the next step, and I actually lost there. Overall, the speech was really, for me, a complete package of how to show that failure is not an option. Congratulations. Over to GE.
Thank you very much, Muhammad, for that evaluation. Just as a reminder, please, everybody send their short introduction to the general evaluator or to the Toastmaster of the day, because it's so interesting to see or to get to know the people who are either speaking or evaluating. And your evaluation was to the point with your volume, your pitch, and you conveyed your emotions very well with your hand gestures. Thank you very much. Our 4th evaluator, wow, is a seasoned evaluator. For Noorul to be evaluated. Sudarshan. DTM Sudarshan is a seasoned banker and a distinguished Toastmaster with over 10 years experience. He has a wealth of expertise in public speaking, leadership, and communication. And he has helped countless individuals develop their skills in these areas. Sudarshan is known for his engaging and interactive approach, and is a sought-after speaker and mentor. Over to you, Sudarshan.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, for your generous introduction. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I would like to start with a statement which I was given when I started working. My boss then used to tell me, Sudarshan, there will be a million reasons why things can't be done. But there will always be just one reason why things will get done, because you want it done. Our speaker today exemplified this statement, which I'm sure she's never heard, because I don't know whether my boss was a communicator at all. But that is what she exemplified throughout her speech. Taking over a district in the middle of the pandemic and taking it to its glory. Why? Because she chose to believe she can do it. She cobbled up a team, she adapted and adopted all of the possible innovative methods that she could bring in, and eventually District 82 became the crown jewel of Toastmasters International. For that, I would like to commend our speaker. As far as icebreakers go, no one talks about these kind of issues, and she brought out a nuanced presentation in which she showed us all what it means. But even before that, today, the gods of technology chose to play truant with her. And she was struggling between her mobile and her laptop and the electricity which was fluctuating. Despite that, she adapted. Yet again, in resonance with our theme, she demonstrated what it means to be an adaptive leader. Now, what could such an adaptive leader learn and do? First and foremost, the joy of playing football is to ensure that you win within 90 minutes. Similarly, the joy of delivering an icebreaker is best enjoyed when you speak for 4 to 6 minutes. Our speaker chose to speak for almost 11 minutes. That is an excessive use of resources and something that our speaker needs to focus on. We always have a lot to say, and pictures speak over 1,000 words. So when you're using pictures, best to avoid giving voiceover to the pictures that you've presented and talk about a central theme of what you achieved out of it. Our speaker chose to demonstrate and depict everything in the pictures, and that took away precious time. Third, any speech is predicated on the use of the language and use of grammar accurately. There were a lot of prepositions which were misplaced. The S's added as a plural to the end of words and sentences communicated something vastly different to what the speaker was trying to say. I would recommend very highly for the speaker to rewrite the speech and look at what should be the prepositions used. However, all in all, as I finish my evaluation, the one lingering lesson that I shall take back with me is, if you choose to achieve, you shall find a way. And that speech was a clear demonstration of how to find that way. Thank you for having me as an evaluator. Back to you, Madam GE.
Thank you very much, Sudarshan. Noorul, Sudarshan got a bit worried about you because he hasn't received your evaluation form. And as a seasoned evaluator, he likes to do some homework. Nevertheless, Sudarshan, you got it done. And the joy of delivering your evaluation was powerful and to the point. Thank you very much again, Sudarshan. Our fifth evaluator. Wow. Oh, we don't stop evaluating yet. For Sandra's speech is Daniel. And Daniel is passionate about people development and thrives on team collaboration. Daniel, over to you to evaluate Sandra's speech.
Thank you, Anna, for that. And wow, so this daunting task, evaluating a seasoned Toastmaster, DTM. It is a daunt. Sometimes you would feel, am I worthy? But you helped me well to say, just tell me if I was persuasive enough, how I persuaded and why. So this is a thing that came out. But Sandra, you are the queen of innovation. I mean, after so many years, there's some guidelines that Toastmasters gives for speeches and how do we pass a point home well. Your beginning of cares when someone gives establishing, if you're establishing credibility, we talk about what the person has achieved, and that's what we think. Let us talk about what they have achieved. Give all the laureates, but who cares? If it is not about the topic the person is talking about, who cares? And that came out so well. So if you want to portray about that came out so well because you painted it, you showed us, you were comfortable in doing it, you adapted. So you changed that, and so it got to me. So I'm stuck in our mind that I found some of the leaders also even smiling because Verma came in, yeah, this is it. One of the things about persuasive speeches, why do we do them? Because also we do Toastmasters, and Toastmasters were here not only to just have projects and do, but also to take it to our real life and say, how do we persuade people in different areas? That's why we're doing it. Not just because we want to finish a project and go to the next project. Why are we doing so we can persuade? And we persuade. So you brought out that extremely well. Then you told us about the introductions, how it should be. I mean, so when you're doing that intro, has an introduction, has a body, very well explained. If you're a teacher, I got this, I would pass 100% if I did an exam because I understood it extremely well. What areas would we work on? Because sometimes we, even though we come out very well, some areas that we could work on. At times when you went, we're not so sure because we all were wondering. We were, what is she going to talk about? That sometimes can lose people because someone might say, I don't understand what you're talking about. Some people might close off before they get the benefit. because maybe they don't know you. So they said, she's just rambling on. But before they got the benefit, so you might lose them at that point. So it is also important, even if you want to join, but have that point in somewhere already early, so that we know it's about introduction. So let me stick on to it, because otherwise you might lose them on. And then at the end, challenge yourself to then bring it back and then close it off with a point, and this is what it is. So at the conclusion, this is the reason we have done it. We have shown you how it is, and then so conclude that well, and it comes back on. But all in all, I always enjoy listening to you, Sandra. Very innovative, very adaptive. Thank you for sharing this with us. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Yo. Dan, you were just as lively and actively involved in your evaluation as Sandra was. Wow, that was good for you. Your hand gestures, your eye contact, your vocal variety, everything was to the point, and you had a clear voice that brought tension. That is the main thing. Thank you very much for Sandra for your lively, and for Dan also for your very lively evaluation. Mr. Zoommaster. Oh, I see. Wow, our timer is up to date with the timing, with the times in the chat box. And while we're looking at the time, Mr. Zoommaster, please launch the poll for the best evaluator. And while we're waiting for that 1 minute, let's just stretch and take a deep breath and maybe have a drink. Wow, look at them all stretching and, and having a drink. Thank you very much. While the poll is there, let's wait for another second or two. And my timer, wow, she's done an awful job putting in the times into the chat box. Thank you very much. Our grammarian, I'll give now my, sorry. Our grammarian, would you kindly give us some feedback about your role that you played today?
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. We didn't have a lot of speakers using the word of the day. I only heard it once from Toastmaster of the Day, Brahm, and I also heard it once from one of our speakers, Vivian. I would encourage you next time to innovate and be adaptable and use the word of the day. In terms of grammar, I also noted a few. There was a sentence that said leaders make decisions that decide which direction they should go. And my suggestion was that it could be decisions, leaders make decisions that help show which direction they should go. And there was also a statement which said I was requiring a team of people instead of saying I required a team of people. And there were instances in when a speaker is, and we should be aware of that when you're speaking in the present tense instead of past tense. When you giving a report of something that happened in the past, would rather use the present tense. And also be aware of using colloquial language or slang, words like gonna instead of going to. There are some interesting quotes, thoughts, words, and things that I liked. The Toastmaster of the Day, when giving an introduction, spoke of the word forward thinking. Change is only constant. He also mentioned words self-awareness, curiosity, and all these words or statements relate to leaders. And I liked Muhammad when he said we must proactively prepare ourselves, and Sudarshan said There are similar reasons why things can't be done, but there's always one reason why something can be done. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Clemens, I didn't quite listen to your evaluation because I was reprimanded here in the chat box. Hannah, I guess you meant awesome and not awful. My apologies if I've used that word. I can't even remember that I used it. My apologies. Okay, thank you. Let me start now with my evaluation. And we start with a greeter. And I think let us have the first 15 minutes for us to chit-chat amongst us ourselves. And as the next 15 minutes, give the greeter a chance to welcome the guests, to welcome his members, and just to say hi and hello and welcome to the meeting. The first 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes that we have or something, but give the greeter a chance to do his, I say, job. Our PR manager, Aswathy, she is a silent observer, and she will write out the certificates for the best speaker and evaluator and show them afterwards. Zoom Master Idura. Thank you very much for recording it to the cloud. And I reiterate, it is important to attend our training sessions on a Thursday. Our SAA, Sabnam, wow, opening the meeting on time, reading the disclaimer and submission, and she read it with a clear and audible voice so everybody could understand and follow what she said. Our Toastmaster, Brahm, well, he received his evaluation from Aswathy. Our person who raised the toast, Lokesh, he received his evaluation from Deborah or Debbie. Karin, wow, our timer. Thank you very much. As a first timer performing this role, she played an amazing part. Congratulations on having the times for our speakers and for evaluators in the chat box as soon as we finish. Our grammarian, Clemens, wow, innovative, definitely, indeed fitted, matched the theme of today, leaders adapt. Thank you very much. Just a pity we didn't use it that much, but I heard that there was here and there people that used the word. Toastmasters, we have a weekly training session for our role players, like the timers, the SAA, the toast person raising the toast, the Zoom master, grammarian. And I appeal to you to join these training sessions on Thursdays, 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time. Here we really learn the nitty-gritty of how to become self-directed leaders and serve leadership speak to the fullest. Another request I have for the speakers, especially for the speakers, is to log in early and request share screen before the meeting starts and test their equipment. And before I adjourn the meeting, we have a thought for the day. And today it is Francois. Is she in the room?
Madam G, you got to pass it on to the TMOD. Read the agenda and pass it on to the TMOD. You can't adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I return the baton now to Brahm, our TMOD, for the awards and theme summary. Over to you, Brahm.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters and guests. We come to the end of the meeting, almost. I would like to ask Francois Bowen to give her thought of the day, all the way from Antigua. Francois.
Leaders adapt. And on losing my virginity. So Richard Branson wrote a book, Losing My Virginity. So Richard Branson is a leader that myself and many of us look up to.
history will be created this week. And here is what the history is about. For the first time, Sir Richard Branson, as a leader, have decided to let others become leaders like himself from this Caribbean.
Embark on an extraordinary journey to space. Join us for an awe-inspiring live streaming event as we celebrate Isha Shahaf and her daughter Anastasia Mayers, the first Caribbean women and the first people from Antigua and Barbuda to fly into space.
I was flying with my daughter and there was an ad that popped up. Would you like to become an astronaut? Would you like to go to space? And I said, yes.
Sir Richard Branson said in his book, and I quote, "I do realize as I get older that I'm going to be able to do less to promote version. And philosophically, I hope I will need to do less to promote it, since the ideas inculcated in the company are enshrined enough in the way it works to make the business take on lives of their own, hopefully in keeping with the ideas of the founder. As leaders adapt, Sir Richard Branson has not only led and leading, but now he's making it all possible for even this Twin Island state of Antigua and Barbuda to become adaptable leader just like him in space." Back over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Francois. Thank you very much for that. And do we have the awards certificate?
Yes.
Aswathy, if you could display those, that'd be great. Thank you very much. The best speaker is Sandra Valks. Congratulations, Sandra. And our best evaluator is over. Next. Daniel Odero Omondi. Congratulations. And Sudarshan Seshadri. Congratulations, everyone. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting comes to an end. And before I go, however, I would like to say one thing, and that is to conclude my theme. This is what you see on the screen there is the second law of thermodynamics by Ilya Prigogine. And this falls into being adaptable. When a molecule's implicate order starts to fall apart, the entity faces a moment of choice, a bifurcation point. It can either go out of existence or reorganize itself at a higher level to accommodate the new variable, which Nokia didn't, BlackBerry didn't, and a lot of other companies didn't. And so they went out of existence. I would urge all of our members, when you come to Leadership Speak, you'll be asked to adapt a lot from what you've learned in your community clubs. And instead of trying to sort of fit Leadership Speak into it, you adapt to Leadership Speak would be a great thing so that you expand your horizons a lot. With that, I will now pass it on to our club president, Asif Said.
Dear fellow leaders, what a fabulous meeting it was today with the theme Leaders Adapt. Very well steered by our pioneer of this club, DTM Brahm Memone, and supported by our adaptive leaders. You see, the need for being adaptable for leaders and organizations, has been there since time immemorial. But what has changed is at the speed at which we want to adapt. And for that, we need to collaborate more. And Toastmaster is one such place where we can connect and collaborate so that we can learn agility in adapting to the fast changing world. So my dear guests, Please stay on for a few minutes because we want to connect with you and know more about your experience about our club meeting. We have come to an end of our meeting today, and so I will now adjourn the meeting. Dear Zoom master, kindly stop the recording.